Okay, so here we have what is possibly the time that the next generation spent the most time talking about the importance of the Prime Directive by having the Federation blatantly violate it sideways repeatedly. So, the Federation had an anthropological field team on Mintaka observing the planet and the people they know enough about the Mintakans to have basics of like Mintakan biology as carefully defined things. I mean, not all of it, mind you, of course, but the majority of it is, pretty simple because the field team, pretending to be Mintakans, would actually sometimes wander around in the town that was near their duck blind, and they're trying to avoid cultural contamination. Yeah, they kind of failed with that one because of the fact that their technology didn't work as well as they thought it would. And the Mintakans found their duck blind and started looking around, which is where Picard's team comes in. Because, well, we have to have the main cast get involved with this. Then Picard and his team have to try to convince the Mintakans that they haven't been culturally contaminated by actually making the cultural contamination worse. That's a recurring theme with this episode, is that everything the Federation does makes the problem worse. Because the Mintakans, as a pre-warp civilization, don't understand any of this crap. So trying to explain something from the perspective of a warp-capable civilization where things are logical and sensical, and no, that doesn't make sense to the Mintakans. It just doesn't. This is an interesting one because it's a matte painting that's overlaid on a real photograph, so it kind of looks a little weird. Anyways, that's an interesting aspect of this, though, is that you're dealing with a civilization that doesn't understand your technology, and you're dealing with a culture that thinks your technology is superhuman and supernatural. And that's the biggest issue with this, is that the whole thing just failed because of the fact the technology wasn't as supernatural and amazing as the people who used it thought it should be. And that is what made the episode so weird and kind of cringe, honestly, is that you have this group of Federation personnel who are absolutely convinced that they can study another civilization for years without that other civilization noticing. And then getting a surprised Pikachu face when their technology fails them, and oh, wait, now the people we were watching know we were watching them. Hence the name of the thing, is that, the Federation anthropological field teams didn't really have the level of oversight they should have. And they had been doing things that, if this was a warp capable civilization, might be treated as grounds for war. And they were just like, oh, well, they're a lesser race. We don't need to worry about what they want. Yeah, got weird. Anyway, though, while the whole duck blind with the Baku ran very differently, doing it with the Mintakans didn't know it was there. Because what had happened is that the people who had chosen the location to put the duck blind had um, hollowed out a hillside that was attached to a natural cave. They didn't, dig out an entire building. No, 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 no. We don't actually get good uh, interior shots of the duck blind. I mean, they do have a few things from the inside of it, but they don't show the full interior. Most of the shots of the episode are the Mintakan village that's near the duck blind. And that's an interesting aspect of this, is that we actually only see a very, very small subset of the Mintakan population. There's one village that the duck blind was studying, and that's about as far as the observations go. How large the Mintakan population is, I don't know. That's actually something that they never actually go a long way into exploring. Ooh, this is actually an amusing plot point. Matina Haro knew about the Mintaka 3 incident because of the fact that the alien who was imitating a Starfleet cadet had borrowed information from Picard's mind, and as part of their, attempting to understand individuality, because this was an alien species that had a hive mind, and thus all of the aliens in that species j- shared a personality. They didn't understand the whole concept of being different people. And that was the focus of their messing with the Federation. They wanted to learn how being different people worked. Gonna go through that one in a different episode. That was strange. But anyway, yeah, after the event, the knowledge that the Federation had ever been to Mintaka wasn't public knowledge. They were hiding it from the Federation. That's another aspect of this that got interesting, is the fact that the Federation is not making this public to anyone. They don't want people to know that they're doing this because it's violating the Prime Directive. This is actually a very, very technologically primitive civilization too. Like, it's like they have farming and textile weaving, and that's about as complicated as their technology goes. Although, if you look at the clothing that they are using, the clothing actually has rivets as the eyelets on it, and that got things. It's a very complex and sophisticated method of metalworking as part of clothing design that doesn't really fit with a Bronze Age civilization. But again, that's the prop department making the episode doing strange things. And one could suppose that the Mintakans do have metalworking skills. I mean, this is a relatively sophisticated building that they have here, after all. And whatever this thing is actually made out of metal and attached to her clothing. Anyway, though, so what would you have as a module that you're making using a similar thing? You could set up an adventure where the players are dealing with the fallout of a different duck blind on a different planet getting messed with. That's a thing you could do. Because let's face it, the whole idea of duck blinds is ethically questionable for reasons not related to the Prime Directive. So, yeah, that's a thing. And then you have the aspect of, because again, it's like you could do one where it's the Mintakans themselves and having and dealing with fallout of this event later on, because there are several Mintakans in the episode who know what the Federation is, because Picard's method of fixing the cultural contamination problem is to make it worse and try to enlighten the Mintakans to understand the Federation. And the thing here, though, is that this means is that the Mintakans have more information about the Federation, and a large group of them now knows that the Federation is real, and none of them actually understands any of what Picard said. They just know that it's there. Now, one thing that's interesting is that they talk about how the observation post will be dismantled, and LaForge is going to help with that. And oh yeah, also the final thing is that he philosophizes about how the uh, incident indicates the vital importance of the Prime Directive. And we're like, you know, if you hadn't taken that approach to observing the Mintakans, this wouldn't have happened. It's just one of those things. Just like you're talking about how you failed at what you were supposedly treating as your great philosophy. Like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, the episode doesn't really go into that because of the fact that the cultural contamination of the planet is actually, as in the big picture, not that great, because again, it's a small village that this happened with. Only this one area actually knows what happened, and that's where things would get interesting, because I said having people in other villages find out about this, the people in the other villages might have very, very strange reactions to it. It's really hard to guess what would happen, and you could actually play with that in a TTRPG by having fallout of Picard's actions having created a bigger problem, and now because of the fact that the Federation violations of the Prime Directive have caused the Mintakans to know that they are not alone in the universe, and know that the Federation is out there watching them. Yeah, you could have a diplomacy themed uh, mission where you're trying to find a solution to the Mintakans having a cultural revolution, because they would. The episode tries to play it off as Picard's philosophizing, convincing the Mintakans that everything is fine, but you're talking about the individual that Picard talked to thinking it was fine. What about the rest of their race? That's a big planet. You only talked to about a dozen of them. What would the other 5 billion Mintakans think about it? Now that's a fun question. Alrighty then. I guess that's enough about this episode. It goes very strange places and for very strange reasons, and spends half the episode pontificating about the importance of the Prime Directive while flagrantly violating it sideways. Uh, but, it does give you ideas on what you could do to give moral dilemmas to your group of players. All right. See you later.